Here's what's happening. Oh, wait. Okay, so you killed the Reyna, obviously. We saw the Omen here, and we see this Sage orb, right? So we know there's 3A. We'll let the round play a little more. Here's what's going on. When you're like this, and the bomb is planted here, but so now they're weak on like this side of the map. And so these players are going to be rotating in from A, right? So the last thing I'll say about attack site Haven, think about this. It's a lot simpler when you look at it from the top-down perspective. They have 5, but they're broken up into little groups. So the way you win is by... All right, we have Silver 2 Phoenix with the 5 duelist comp. Seems legit. The team is talking, which is nice. All right, so big thing about silver players I see is their buys are always scuffed. This guy's buy is definitely not scuffed. We have Ghost Flash, pretty standard for Phoenix. Can I make the quality better? He plays in 4-3 res, but how did he take this angle? I don't think he moves like a silver player. He overswung there, but I think in general, it looks like he doesn't move like a silver player. Shoot the wall, man.
Alright, we go see. I'm not wishing for it.
Or you gotta break the Sage wall. Always break the Sage wall. Don't let him keep that shit up. The thing about the wall is it makes the Sage like super safe. Like he feels really comfortable when his wall's up. If you take it down, it puts more pressure on him and it makes them have to play somebody on B. So you never want to let a Sage keep their wall up.
Like, you can't see them.
Okay. See how the Sage is A? Right here, you should call your team and go C.
Wait, 4v2, we win. One enemy remaining.
Nice.
4v1, we win.
The Omen threw pretty hard. I just want to explain why. I want to explain why it's a good idea to go C. So you killed the Reyna, obviously. We saw the Omen here, and we see this Sage orb, right? So we know there's 3A. We'll let the round play a little more. And now our Raze in mid, he kills this Neon pushing for info at grass. So they have 3 up, and we have 2 of them accounted for on A, right? And so logically, your Raze should just run through garage, and you guys should run spawn to C, and you should be able to get a free plant. And then what it's going to end up looking like, ideally, is the Raze takes an early angle in spawn or garage, and then you guys can play your setup on site. But because he has such good timing on them, he's going to be able to get a deep spot and have a bunch of map control for you guys at C. But instead, what ends up happening is the Omen TPs up and just basically throws for you, so you win anyway. I haven't said anything about the 5 duelist comp yet. It's pretty bad, but it doesn't matter. It's not as bad as people think. Okay. You have your ult up, which is good. You guys have 4 ults on them. I think you have the best comms of any silver I've ever seen.
This ring is a menace.
Just live. You don't
I'll let you play out this round, and then I'll talk a little bit.
Last player standing.
Yeah, sure. So we'll talk about a couple things. So that flash is fine. You ult here, which is good. This is exactly what you should do. Instead of stopping to throw a flash here, just run. Because it's your team's job to trade you. This is pretty annoying that our team just throws. The only thing I would say, let's watch this again. So let's go in game and look at this. When you're like this and the bomb is planted here, like so, you basically have to isolate once. And so you have to take an angle like this until you see one person, right? And you have to be able to exploit the fact that one of them is gonna have to stick the bomb, and one of them is gonna have to fight you, right? Unless they tap and both swing. So you have to make sure you're on angles like this, which are only susceptible to being like shot at by one person at a time. If they were to peek you on this line together, they would be lined up, and you're like pretty likely to get a double. Let me go back to the video and show you what I don't like. So here, you're fine like this. And then when you make this peek into the open like this, you're fucked. This is where you lose. Because you have no way of getting back to cover. So like when you're right here in this frame, you should be extremely interested in just going left until you can get back onto this angle like this, where you can then again isolate, right? But when you're just walking out in the open, there's also no reason for you to be walking here, because if you look up at the map, you can see my audio range. They actually can't even hear you. So there's no reason for you to walk, and there's no reason for you to come out into the open unless you're trying to get to the other side. The last thing that I'll say is when you're taking a fight like this, you should sort of be more like fluid. Do you see how I'm like burst strafing? Whereas your fight, you're a lot more static. I like that you're not just like panic spraying, but your strafes are really small. So you should be a little bit more generous with how much time you're giving yourself to move. And so that's like a little breakdown of that round for you. Because I felt like there's a lot of little mistakes there that led up to you being like not super favored to win. That's a crazy crosshair. What the heck?
Peeking from window, bro. The plan was to peek it. Phoenix flashing.
Okay. I wasn't really paying attention to what you said in the beginning of the round, but your teammate's whining about something.
There's a chamber chip behind that door.
So
To your right.
you guys got a kill garage, and then you came to B, and then you like slowed down for no reason. So I'll show you where the mistake is. So you get the kill garage. You could go garage if you wanted, but you choose not to, which is fine. But so now they're weak on like this side of the map. And so these players are going to be rotating in from A, right? So you standing here is giving this guy an A link time to come fight you. And you don't want that. What you want is to take advantage of their weak side, which is like C in garage, and maybe B, because maybe if they did have a B player, now he's garage. What you want to do is just like shove into garage and take the space. But instead you give them time to rotate. And your whole team is doing the same thing. Except Raze. Raze is taking space in garage, which is good. Oh, he roses it. I didn't notice that the first time. The other thing about standing on an angle like this is an angle that gets pre-aimed, so you're like at a big disadvantage because of the way that like reaction time works. The guy who goes like this and he's ready to pre-aim you here, he's much more like he's much quicker on the reaction, because you have to react to two things. You have to react to him swinging you, and you have to react to him stopping right here. Whereas all this guy has to do is swing and then acknowledge that there's somebody on his screen and then shoot. So you have one more thing to react to than he does. So it makes him a lot faster, which is why when you hold something like this, if you do want to hold an angle, you should hold it like a really awkward spot that's advantageous for you. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe here at an off angle. This whole area is just kind of like bad. Maybe here on like a crack. This one's nice because you have this spammable wood right here. So if you do see somebody like say crossing left to right, you can shoot here at them, right? But whereas if you stand on sort of a predictable angle where this rotator is going to come and he's going to swing this every time because he's worried about the mid lurk, then he has a big advantage on you. So that's why you died there. So the last thing I'll say about attack side Haven is this. So what you have to think about is, think about this. It's a lot simpler when you look at it from the top down perspective. You guys have 5. They have 5, but they're broken up into little groups. So the way you win is by hitting 5 down a single lane. This is how you win. It doesn't matter what lane you go. You just go 5 down a lane and you have the site and you play post plant. Especially when they're playing like these kind of weaker defense agents like Chamber and Neon and Reyna, right? They have these like kind of shitty agents. Basically, the only thing that you shouldn't want to run into is the Sage. Everything else is great. So the way that you win here on attack side is you just push a lane as 5. And what's happening is you guys are actually doing that, but just like that round when you started at B, or actually you got the pick garage and your whole team went B and then you went up with them. You got the pick here, went B, and then everybody stopped and got caught in this choke. Everybody stopped and got caught right in this choke here. And this is the round where you were standing here and you died to the Sage. And that's you died to him, not only because you were holding the angle and he has peeker's advantage on you, but because you gave him time to rotate in. Instead of taking advantage of the fact that this is a 1v5 on B site, or perhaps a 0v5 on B site. I think it was 4. I think you had a teammate die mid. But regardless. So that is how you should think about attack side in general, and especially attack side on Haven. There's a lot of map to cover for the defense, and they have to make a decision of playing like how they're playing, where they're 1-1-1-2 or whatever, or they're gonna leave a lane completely open. Like usually most teams will like Sage wall B and then leave it open. And so that's how I want you to think about like attack side in general, and especially on Haven.
Why does he have a shorty 110 on the stupid Neon, bro?
They're going C.
Okay. So they took wait.
It's A, it's A.
They're going C.
I don't
Here, A, it's A, it's A.
Oh shit, okay.
Okay. So this is happening because we're playing a very, very passive setup on our site. And I can explain to you what's going on. So here's the deal with defense, right? So you were playing with your Reyna, I think, up here, and you were playing here. And our Neon or the Rays, somebody died garage really early. So what happened was they sent like 2 guys here. So they sent like, it was Omen and like, I don't know, somebody else. But what happened was this guy dies. And so you guys are like, oh shit, it's C. And you start to rotate. But you don't have this sight line. What you have to remember is that this barrier is here, right? You guys have these barriers. I think this one's here at long. So all of this A lobby, A long area is neutral space that you should be contesting for on your defense sides on every map, especially Haven, because of how important all the lanes are. So I'll show you what I mean. So right here is where you should be. This does not hurt your setup that you wanted to play, right? All you have to do is sit here and spot until they come to push you off. And then you can come back and you can play your setup with your Reyna like this.
Watch your eyes.
Right? What happens if they don't come here is we can do a couple of things, right? We can push up and flank, especially because these guys don't have like a real sentinel. Well, they do. They have Chamber, but his trip is really bad. So you can push up and flank. You have your wall in case you see the trip. You can wall it off. The other thing you can do is farm your orb, which is super important on Phoenix. And the other thing you can do is just hold this line until we know they're hitting a site, and then you can just rotate out. Just normal, right? I personally think that this spot up here, if you don't see anything right away, playing right here until the other team commits to a site fully is super strong, because a lot of the time, especially in low elo, these guys won't have like the discipline to clear you. Or if they do, you can stand on an off angle like this, or stand on a super deep angle like this that they might not clear, and get like cheeky kills on them. Standing here is dangerous because obviously they can cross on you. So I think it's good to stand on like an off angle like this. I hope you understand what off angles are. I think most people do at this point. So yeah, that was the problem with your defense setup, was that it's just too passive and you're giving up too much neutral space, and you're not actually contesting or even like getting your team any information. And that's why you had a bad rotate, is because your team didn't have any information, which is why like initiators are so important in this game, is because there's a lot, and especially on Haven. Haven is a very special map. especially on Haven, because there's so many lanes, right? Like there's so many areas where we can put like a really nice Sova dart and just get a ton of info. Maybe right there. Get a ton of info about what's going on around the whole map. Yeah, so that's why that A setup wasn't good, and that's why you had a bad rotate. So yeah, I think like, I don't know how much you play, like I said, but if you play more, you'll probably rank up pretty quick. Work on, I think aim is a big thing for you, because it seems like your ideas are good round to round, but you kind of, like, where was it? This round where you're long and you have to play this post plant by yourself. This is kind of showing me that, like, you don't quite understand, like, isolating angles, because you're, or maybe, I mean, it seems like you understand isolating angles earlier, right? Like, you're kind of doing it here, but then you get a little bit impatient. I think just playing more, like, you just play more and you will get all these little, like, micro decisions. The thing about shooting in this situation, you kind of almost have it, but give yourself a little bit more time to jiggle between shots, like this. Because so the idea of this is that we're kind of like throwing off the other player's aim when we're doing this. But if you aren't actually really like making any meaningful movements, then it doesn't have the intended effect. So like if we watch here, if you're not traveling like a material distance, then the aim isn't really affected by this. Like that guy just sprayed you. He just straight up like, he just said fuck you, and he just went like this. So I think if you were traveling a little bit further between your shots, you know, more like this, then it's a lot harder for him to hit you there. But yeah, I think if you just play more, you'll rank up. 5 duelist game, pretty troll, but yeah, you're good, man. Just play more.